So I think that's, I think these little kernels, one little detail of an image, a close-up, is something that nestles deep inside you that only maybe years later that an artist will say, oh, that actually was the source. But it's hard because you string them together, because you're on automatic pilot to a certain degree. I mean, I think you think you're attentive, but you're not always. Certain images or certain text or music will go in at a much deeper level. It's like us when we say that when we animate, you listen to the music again and again and again, and it comes through the fingers. When you animate the puppet, when you animate it in a certain way, I think in the end you're convinced that the music is transmitted through the fingertips. And it's in the way that when you build your decors, your hands do a lot of the thinking. It's not here. But you talk to a person who makes pottery. They don't think here. It's all in the touch, isn't it? And I think it's very, very important that we underestimate, but the hands think. And I think it's something that...
that's unlikely to happen with 60 people.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, less likely.
Everybody's watching.
There's one hand desperately raised, so let's go for it. At the back, please. Last one, we do have to move on.
The idea of being born as twins is sort of ultimately a really big
bummer.
It's a chance encounter in an ultimate scale, and I was wondering if you think of yourselves working as a single organism, or whether you bring very different qualities to your production.
No, it's a good question.
But you've answered it.
No, because the only thing that we could say that you would add to it is that sometimes that twins, it's not exactly a mirror. The principle is that identical twins is a mirror image, but even within the mirror image, there are differences and there are strengths, and one comes to depend on those strengths. That the one of us does more of the editing, one does more of the lighting. We both do the animation. One's behind the camera, and then the other one animates. Sometimes, if it needs two of us to animate, we'll animate together. So in a sense, but it's all subsumed because, as we said, nobody's looking. So we just say there's no roles created, and one of us. And often at the beginning of a film, when you're sort of the whole process of tuning up to doing that film, for instance, like it could be crocodiles or it could be rehearsals, is that there's this element of play which is so crucial, so that Timothy's on the left, I'm on the right, and you're sort of experimenting, each trying to approach it from each person's point of view, and that, I look over his shoulder, he looks over my shoulder, we make a comment, we meet at lunch, we have we talk, you improvise, you discuss things, you brainstorm, you go back, and then you say, let's merge this with that. It's just an ongoing, a very, very humble ongoing process, which is just, escalating very quietly. And I think that's the way it works, and it works ultimately invisibly. And I think that's if you put a light on to it, it would kill it. So I think the privacy is what's very, very sacred and very humble process of just getting on with the day. And like the animation, you just go into a black hole, you pull the black curtains, and you operate by radar. And the proof is in the pudding in the end. So.
Thank you very much. I think we can all be very, very glad indeed that this invisible process yields visible results. And certainly, just speaking personally, I'm both awed by the extraordinary work the brothers have made, but also their advocacy of a certain culture, which is always under threat, a way of seeing and feeling and imagining, which I think we can all see defended so profoundly and advocated and made more in their work. So I'd like to thank them for that. I'd like to urge you to see this remarkable exhibition, if you haven't, at the University Gallery. There was a screening earlier in the festival of several other films by the brothers, one of which we talked about a little bit, In Absentia, one of the most extraordinary films you will ever see. And fortunately you can see it, albeit probably at home on the small screen, by picking up the DVD, the BFI DVD, which we referred to, of the brothers' short film work, and we're hoping that next year the BFI will be releasing Institute Beniamenta on DVD as well, so keep an eye out for that. But otherwise now, do please join me in thanking very much indeed for their exhibition, their films, their ongoing work, the Brothers Quays.
Thanks for joining us here on the CineCity Festival podcast. Visit www.cine-city.co.uk to view this year's programme, book tickets and stay on top of all the festival news. You can also subscribe to the podcast while you're there to make sure you never miss an episode. The CineCity podcast is created in association with Director's Notes, the weekly film podcast dedicated to the what, how and why of independent filmmaking. Find it over at www.directorsnotes.com.